Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let me ask you something that might catch you off guard for just a second. Have you ever been close to a woman, felt her body stiffen slightly, and immediately started wondering what that meant? That small shift, that sudden rigidity, or the way her breathing quietly changes tells you so much more than her words ever will. Because a woman's body, it simply does not lie. Today, I'm going to show you what her tension is truly communicating. And trust me, once you grasp this, you will never see her the same way again. Before we go any further, make sure you hit like on this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because what I'm about to share with you goes far beyond typical dating tips. This is rooted in psychological reality. When a woman's body tightens in your presence, whether it shows up in her posture, her jaw, or the sudden rise of her shoulders, it isn't always about discomfort or rejection. Sometimes it's about emotional exposure. You've touched something inside her she hasn't fully processed yet. Her body responds before her mind even has a chance to catch up. Women are naturally wired to guard themselves, not only from physical threat, but from emotional vulnerability too. Her tension can signal that she's feeling something powerful, something that threatens her sense of control. You see, when a woman is near a man she has no feelings for, she stays relaxed, detached, unbothered. There's no emotional charge in the air. But when she's close to someone who makes her pulse quicken, her body gives her away. A flicker of tension might mean she's nervous about the depth of what she feels. Her body tightens, not because she's trying to push you away, but because she's frightened of what she might expose if she doesn't hold herself together. Most men get this completely wrong. They assume she's uncomfortable or pulling back emotionally, but quite often, it's the exact opposite. She's wrestling with her own feelings. Her subconscious is shouting, "Don't let him see how deeply he's getting to you." That's the precise moment where attraction and vulnerability crash into each other. The secret that most men never discover is this. A woman's tension in your presence can be her body's confession of emotional intensity. It's her unspoken way of telling you, "You're getting under my skin." Learn to read that language, and you'll understand her at a deeper level than words could ever reach. Now let's go further, because this is where most men completely miss the signals. That quiet tightening in her body, the way her hands might curl just a little or her legs shift without her even noticing, is not accidental. It's her subconscious reaching out to you, communicating how she's navigating attraction, curiosity, and even fear all at the same time. Women are remarkably skilled at concealing emotion, but their bodies cannot keep the secret. Her tension is a roadmap, if only you know how to read it. Here's something most men never hear from anyone around them. Tension isn't only about nerves or shyness. It's a signal of genuine interest blended with a self-protective impulse. When a woman tightens around you, her subconscious is whispering, "I want to feel close, but I'm terrified of losing myself along the way." Every flicker, every small adjustment is her body testing the situation, figuring out whether she can trust you with more than just words. Watch how she responds when you lean in slightly, when your energy shifts toward her, when your gaze stays on her a moment longer than expected. A barely noticeable stiffening of her muscles, a sudden pause in her breath, or a shift in her hips. These are her body's way of managing its boundaries, while at the same time acknowledging the pull she feels toward you. Most men miss all of this because their attention is fixed on what she's saying. But the truth is that her body is communicating far louder than her words ever do. If you learn to interpret those signals correctly, you begin recognizing the patterns that reveal whether she's intrigued, guarded, or quietly longing for connection. And here's what really matters. Her tension tends to surface in moments of real emotional risk. Maybe you said something daring. Maybe you brushed her hand gently. Or maybe just your presence alone stirred something in her she couldn't quite name. Her body tightens because she is being pulled in opposite directions simultaneously, drawn toward you and cautious about becoming too exposed. This is where emotional tension quietly transforms into erotic tension without a single line ever being crossed. Most men panic in these moments and misread what they're seeing as rejection. But the most grounded thing you can do is recognize it for what it truly is: fascination. That tension is her body admitting that she's feeling something meaningful, something she cannot yet control or put clearly into words. And once you truly understand that, you begin to see the female mind as a landscape filled with signals, not just spoken language, and her body as the map that leads directly to the truth of how she feels about you. This is where psychology and attraction meet and intertwine. Every tiny movement matters, and every small reaction is a clue waiting to be read. Learn to watch, learn to feel, and learn to interpret what you're seeing. Because this kind of understanding is exactly what separates men who remain invisible from men who become unforgettable. Let's talk about the moment most men completely pass over: the pause, that tiny hesitation when she moves, when she smiles, or when she laughs softly. It isn't accidental. It's her body signaling an internal tug of war. She's drawn to you, yet she's carefully weighing every instinct she carries about safety, trust, and what she desires. That pause, that quiet tightness, is a window directly into her inner world. If you learn to notice it, you'll sense her attraction long before she ever lets herself admit it. Here is a truth many men never come to understand: women rarely display their emotions openly. Their tightness is not discomfort. It's concentration, curiosity, and anticipation all compressed into one physical response. When she subtly draws her arm closer or her shoulders rise just slightly, she's unconsciously managing her own energy, trying to gauge how near she can allow you to come without losing her footing. And here is the part most men completely overlook: that tension is not a refusal, it's an invitation. Her body is handing you clues about her emotional state long before her mouth ever speaks. Think of it like following a map. Her movements, the micro tension in her muscles, the shifting of her weight, each one is a breadcrumb pointing toward what she genuinely feels. If you stay observant, you'll notice that when she feels truly safe, some of that tension begins to dissolve, replaced by subtle openness, a softer jaw, loosened hands, a quiet lean in your direction. That's her telling you without speaking that she's open to you, that the emotional walls you could sense are beginning to lower. But here is exactly where most men destroy it. They move too fast. They read her tightness as disinterest, or they push forward because they've misread the signal entirely. The wisest move is patience. Let her body set the pace. Let her tension ease on its own timeline. When a woman feels emotionally secure, her tightness will shift naturally into subtle closeness, the kind that feels magnetic and electric without a single word exchanged. This is precisely why reading her body language carries more weight than any rehearsed line or charm strategy. Her micro signals tell you everything: who she trusts, who holds her curiosity, and who has the ability to get beneath her emotional surface. You'll start seeing recurring patterns: moments when she unconsciously leans closer, when her breathing shifts, when her eyes stay on you just a beat longer than necessary. That is her subconscious speaking to you directly, revealing desire, curiosity, and connection long before she allows her words to follow. If you pay close attention, these signals become impossible to ignore. They are what separate men who fade quietly from a woman's awareness from men who leave a mark that stays. And that, my friend, is where real attraction takes root. Now, let's uncover one of the most misunderstood layers of female body language: the way her tension reveals not just attraction, but the presence or absence of trust. Most men believe intimacy is built through words, physical touch, or hours spent together. But it's fundamentally about her body signaling whether she feels safe or not. When a woman tightens near you, she isn't only reacting to what you do physically, she's reacting to how secure she feels, allowing you into her inner world. Every subtle shift in her posture, every quiet pullback of her shoulders is a measurement of how willing she is to be emotionally exposed in your presence. Here is what most men miss entirely: trust is never all or nothing. It's built in microscopic increments, each one reflected in her body's responses: a loosened hand, a softened jaw, a slow and easy blink. These are signals that her subconscious is quietly unlocking the door, even when she hasn't uttered a single word. Tightness, by contrast, signals hesitation. She is asking herself whether letting her guard down emotionally will leave her too exposed. And that hesitation is never a refusal. It's her way of negotiating her own sense of safety, while still feeling a powerful pull in your direction. Think of it this way. When she's around men she feels no real connection with, her body stays neutral, almost automatic. But when a man triggers genuine interest within her, her body comes alive with quiet, layered signals. Her tightness, her micro movements, even the rhythm of her breathing shift and change. They all carry a message. It's the body's way of saying, I'm curious, I'm drawn to you, but I'm still being careful. That's the point where attraction and emotional vulnerability meet head on. And if you truly understand this dynamic, you gain a remarkable advantage: access to her feelings before she ever puts them into words. And here's the psychological layer that changes everything. Women's bodies are wired to protect first and open up second. This means that when she tightens, it's a sign she is already aware of her own emotions before she has fully accepted them. A perceptive man doesn't panic or misread this moment as disinterest. He watches quietly. He honors the limits her body is communicating, and he allows that tension to organically shift into openness over time. When you let her body lead, you earn not only her trust, but also the kind of deep attraction that is only possible when emotional safety has been established. This is why understanding body tension changes the game entirely. Every minor adjustment, every subtle stiffening is a window into her subconscious, a glimpse into how she is balancing curiosity, longing, and self-protection all at once. The men who can see this clearly are able to respond in ways that draw her closer without creating any pressure. Those who cannot see it remain invisible, missing the silent signals that were offering up her true feelings the entire time. Once you begin recognizing these patterns, every moment you share with her becomes a map, one that shows you exactly where she stands emotionally and how much she's willing to risk by letting you in. And that, when everything is stripped away, is the real truth most men never discover. Here's where most men fall apart. They notice her tightness and immediately panic. They interpret it as rejection, overthink every single move, or try to manufacture a reaction from her. But the reality is that her quiet tension is often the clearest sign that you have genuinely affected her. It's her body communicating that something about you carries weight, something she cannot easily set aside or dismiss. That's precisely why reading these signs separates ordinary men from the ones who become impossible to forget. Let's look at it more closely. When a woman's body tightens, it is almost never about discomfort in the traditional sense. It's about emotional activation. Her heart, her thoughts, and her subconscious are all responding to you at the same time. She may smile, she may even laugh softly, but that micro tension sitting in her shoulders or along her jaw, that's where the honesty lives. Her body is telling you she's captivated, even when she isn't ready to say so out loud. This is a language the vast majority of men never take the time to learn, and that is exactly why they stay invisible, while others seem to hold her attention without apparent effort. There is another dimension worth understanding here, and that is anticipation. When a woman's body tightens, it often comes just before a release, a natural softening that only arrives once she feels genuinely safe and emotionally connected. That tightening isn't resistance, it's preparation. It's her way of carefully testing the ground beneath her, allowing herself to feel something significant while still keeping a hand on her own sense of control. The man who truly gets this doesn't rush her or mistake that tension for a closed door. He observes, mirrors her energy thoughtfully, and responds in ways that make letting go feel natural and safe. That is where real connection is born, not through elaborate gestures or carefully rehearsed words, but through an honest reading of her body's subtle language. Here is the core psychological insight. Her tightness is never without reason. It is shaped by attraction, by curiosity, and by her subconscious assessment of whether or not you can be trusted. When you understand that, you gain a lens into her inner landscape. You can recognize the invisible lines she draws, the micro signals of desire, and the emotional rhythms that most men walk right past. You begin to understand her without requiring her to explain herself. And that is a rare and powerful ability that quietly raises your presence in her awareness. And this is where real change takes place. The men who notice, who genuinely see the small shifts, become magnetic in a way they can't quite explain. They don't chase, they don't reach for attention. They respond with intelligence to the wordless communication her body offers. Because once you accept that her tightness is a map of her emotional interior, you can move through it with patience, precision, and sensitivity. Transforming curiosity into trust, converting tension into attraction, and turning uncertainty into something real and lasting. This is not abstract theory, it's psychology in action, a way of reading the signals most men never even notice and converting them into genuine understanding. That understanding is quiet, but it is powerful. And once you truly have it, every interaction with a woman will feel entirely different. Now, here is the final truth, the one that reframes everything. A woman's tightness is not simply a signal of attraction or caution. It is a mirror of how she experiences you on an emotional level. Every shift, every micro tension, every barely visible adjustment reflects the impression you are making on her subconscious. The stronger your impact, the more visible that tension becomes. And the more fluently you can read it, the more naturally you can guide the connection, without forcing anything, without pressure, without needing to fill the silence with words. Here is something almost no man ever stops to realize. When a woman tightens around you, she is giving you a test, not one she has consciously designed, but a subconscious measure of how grounded, self-aware, and emotionally intelligent you truly are. If you misread it, that tension can harden into distance. But if you respond well, with patience, with quiet reassurance, and with genuine emotional awareness, that same tension becomes intimacy, fascination, and desire. It is the body's unspoken message. I'm feeling something here, and I'm watching closely to see how you carry yourself. This is the reason so many men find themselves struggling in relationships without ever understanding the source of the problem. They encounter tension and answer it with impatience, anxiety, or an eagerness that overshoots the moment, missing the meaning entirely. The right man sees it, feels it, and allows it to inform how he moves. He aligns with her pace, honors the unspoken lines her subconscious draws, and gradually transforms that tension into ease. In doing so, he opens a level of attraction that most men will never access, because he is operating on a psychological frequency that reaches well beyond words. Think of her body as its own language, with subtle gestures, tightness, and micro shifts forming the letters. Once you learn to read that language fluently, you understand her in ways most men never will. You can see where she hesitates, where she's quietly intrigued, and where she's beginning to open. You catch the small signals before they ever surface as words, choices, or actions. And that awareness gives you a silent advantage, a calm, undeniable presence over her emotions and interest. So here is what you take away from all of this. Never dismiss her tightness. Watch it, honor it. Understand what it's telling you. Learn the story her body is sharing about trust, attraction, and what she's hoping to feel. The men who truly succeed are not the most forceful, the quickest, or the loudest in the room. They are the ones who see what isn't spoken, understand what stays hidden, and respond with quiet intelligence. Once you carry that understanding, every encounter becomes cleaner, more meaningful, and far more impactful. Her body will always say what her words are not yet ready to, and you will know exactly how to hear it. The deepest possible insight into how a woman feels, and the one thing that separates men who are forgotten from the ones who are never quite let go of. Master this, and you will never experience connection the same way again.